Hey guys, tonight we begin with fire. You don't remember the heat. You remember the smoke, the sound of your breath trying to push past it. You remember holding her, your newborn, against your chest, shielding her with your own body as the roof collapsed behind you. You shouldn't have made it out, but someone pulled you free. And now you wake in a stranger's cabin, alive, somehow. If you've ever felt the moment right after death passes you by, if you've ever tried to piece together your name while holding someone new who depends on it, then tonight's for you. Like and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake to warmth, not heat, just warmth. A steady fire crackles in the corner. You lie on a thick hide, blankets tucked up to your chin. The smell of smoke still clings to your hair. But it's not from this cabin, it's from before, from what you lost. Your body aches in places you didn't know could ache. You shift your arm and feel her, still there, still breathing. Your daughter, tiny, curled, quiet. She lets out a small sigh in her sleep. You press your forehead to hers and cry without sound, not because you're afraid, but because she made it, and so did you, somehow. The door creaks. You flinch. Instinct tells you to run, to hide, to shield the child, but your body won't let you move fast enough. A figure steps in, tall, coat dusted with snow. He carries a bucket of water in one hand and a bundle of wood in the other. He says nothing, doesn't look at you for long, just sets the water by the stove, places the wood beside the fire, then steps back outside. That's all. No questions, no words, just care. You sip the water slowly. It tastes clean, cold, real. Your baby stirs but doesn't wake. The fire crackles steady, safe. You don't know where you are, but the way the blankets were tucked, the way the fire was built, the way he didn't speak, it tells you something. You're not here by accident. You were carried here by someone who's done it before, for someone who didn't have to ask. You sleep again, not deep, but without fear. When you wake, there's bread on the table, hard, brown, wrapped in cloth. Beside it, a note, written in sharp, steady handwriting. You can stay. No one else comes here. No signature, just space. You read it 3 times, then set it down. Look at your daughter. Whisper, I think we're not alone anymore. You don't leave that day. You can't. Your legs won't carry you. Your heart doesn't want to. You feed her, rock her. Listen to her tiny sounds as if each one is a prayer. Outside the wind rises, but the walls don't shake. This cabin is strong, not new, not polished, but lived in, and now it's holding more than one life again. You lean back against the wall, close your eyes, and feel something rise in your chest. Not hope, not yet. Just breath. Steady. Certain. Like the beginning of something sacred. The fire's still burning when you wake again. It hasn't gone out, like it knows you need more time. Your daughter sleeps against your chest, soft breath, warm skin, a tiny hand curled around the edge of your coat. Outside the snow falls silent, thick, certain. You know that kind of storm, the kind that doesn't ask, the kind that buries things on purpose. You adjust the blanket over your shoulder, try to stand. Your knees shake, but you manage. The room is small, 1 table, 1 bed, a chair, a wooden chest under the window. You walk slow, balancing her weight against your heartbeat. You pause at the door. Listen. No sound. You open it, step outside. The cold hits hard, not biting, just immediate. But the world is white. Pine trees dusted in silver, a trail of footprints leading out and disappearing into drift. The man is nowhere in sight, but you feel him. The way silence shifts when someone's watching. You step off the porch, 1 foot, then another. You scan the tree line. Nothing moves, but you feel it. Not threat, not danger, just the land noticing you, like it hasn't decided yet if you belong. You return inside, close the door. Your daughter stirs. You whisper, "We're not unwelcome, just not expected." You place her in a cradle someone carved by hand, not recently, edges worn smooth. You trace one groove with your finger, a name scratched in cedar, JM initials. Yours aren't carved anywhere. But now hers are in your arms. That counts for something. You sit by the fire, pull the blanket tighter, then hear it, a soft sound. Behind you. You turn. The man stands in the doorway again. No coat this time. He carries a bowl. Steam rises from it. He places it near you, then steps back. Still no words. You say, "Thank you." He nods, then leaves. Not a retreat, not dismissal, just a rhythm you don't yet understand. You eat slowly. The broth is rich, bone-heavy. Exactly what you need. You try not to cry again. But you fail. Not from sorrow, from relief, because someone saw you. A woman blood-wet, smoke-soaked, broken open with a child in her arms, and didn't turn away. You whisper to the fire, "I don't know why he helped, but I think he's done it before." And the room answers with silence, the kind that holds you when words don't know how. Your daughter cries that night. Not loud, not desperate, just steady. A sound that says, "I'm here and I need you to be too." You hold her close. Rock her. Sing a lullaby your mother once whispered while combing your hair. A song you thought you'd forgotten until now. The wind pushes hard against the cabin walls, but they don't move. Neither do you. You hum until she quiets. Then you stay awake just a little longer, not because you're afraid, because for the first time in days, your body trusts that it's safe enough to rest and doesn't want to miss it. At dawn, you find the man outside. He's already chopping wood, sleeves rolled, face unreadable, movements sharp but measured. You stand on the porch, baby wrapped tight against your chest. He looks up once, nods. You raise a hand, say, "Good morning." He doesn't answer, but he keeps chopping, like your words have weight, even if they're not returned. You sit on the step, watch him work. Your daughter watches too. Her eyes track the rhythm, the rise of the axe, the fall, the crack. Each piece of wood splits clean, like something that wants to be remade. Later you find a loaf of bread warming near the stove. Still no note, still no name. But now there's something else beside it, a folded square of cloth. You open it carefully. Inside, a tiny shirt, hand-stitched, sized for your daughter. Your hands tremble. You don't know how long it took him, or how he knew what she'd need, but it fits. Not perfectly, just enough. You dress her in it, and for the first time since the fire, she laughs, small, sudden, certain. You catch your breath. The laugh echoes in the rafters like a promise you didn't know you made. That evening you leave a note, just a piece of paper tucked under the edge of the bread plate. It reads, "My name is Mara. Her name is Grace." You don't expect a reply, but in the morning the paper's gone, and the fire's already burning. The days pass in rhythm, wood split, water boiled, snow swept from the porch. Your daughter grows steadier in your arms, eyes clearer, fingers stronger. She begins to reach toward the window when the man returns, not fearful, fascinated. He notices, doesn't speak, but leaves his gloves where she can see them, like an offering. You begin to believe she's the reason he doesn't leave. You find his name by accident. It's carved into the underside of the cradle, same initials you saw earlier, JM, but below them, faint in charcoal, almost rubbed away. Jonas. You whisper it aloud. The fire pops. Grace stirs. You try it again, softer, more certain. Jonas. And in that moment, something in the cabin shifts, like it had been holding its breath. That evening you say it directly. When he brings the stew, you meet his eyes and say, "Thank you, Jonas." He stops, just for a second, then nods, sets down the bowl. But you see something new in his face, not fear, not shame, recognition, like a thread just tied itself again and held. You begin to talk more, not in conversation, in small truths. You tell Grace a story while he listens from the other room. You explain how the fire started, how the cabin before this one was built with dreams but no map. You don't say the name of the man who left it, but you say what he did, how he ran when the labor began, how you wrapped yourself in wet cloth, kicked open the back door and crawled out with her screaming in your arms, how you walked for 2 nights through snow with no shoes, and how someone found you. You don't name Jonas. You don't have to. Grace falls asleep, and the man adds 2 more logs to the fire before bed. In the morning, the first footprints appear, not yours, not his. At the edge of the tree line, one set, wide, heavy, headed toward the house, but turned back. You show Jonas. He says nothing, but he boards the windows before dusk and places his knife by the door. You don't sleep that night. Grace does, curled beside you, breath warm, small hand wrapped around your thumb. But you lie awake, watching the shadows crawl across the ceiling. The knife stays within arm's reach. You don't know who left the footprints, but something in you whispers, they weren't here for him. They were here for you. Jonas doesn't speak about it in the morning, but he sharpens the knife, carefully, methodically, then hands it to you. You hold it for a while. It's heavier than it looks. Worn handle, clean edge, carved initials you can barely read anymore. J.M. You say, I won't run, ha ha. He looks at you, nods once. You don't know what that means yet, but you feel it settle between you like agreement. The next day the snow melts just enough for you to walk. You carry Grace in a sling, wrap her in 2 blankets. You walk to the tree line, trace the path the stranger left. It leads to a ridge, then down again, to a narrow trail that disappears into the valley below. You don't follow it. You don't need to. You understand the message. Someone knows you're here. You whisper into the wind, I'm not hiding. I'm healing. The wind doesn't answer, but it doesn't push back either. You take that as a kind of permission. That evening, Jonas brings out something you haven't seen before, a bundle wrapped in oilcloth. He places it on the table, opens it. Inside, a carved cradleboard, finished, painted, sacred. Your breath catches. He slides it toward you. You say, You made this? He nods. You run your fingers along the edges. Symbols burned into the wood. Some you recognize from your childhood, some you don't. You say, These marks? They're from the valley tribes. He finally speaks. First words in days. They raised me when mine couldn't. You look at him, really look. And the silence between you becomes something else. Not distance, shared survival. You lay Grace in the cradleboard that night. She fits like she's always belonged there. The paint hasn't fully dried, but the colors are soft. Cedar, clay, sky. You press a kiss to her forehead, then rest your palm over the carved spiral near her feet. A symbol for continuity. You've only seen it once before, in your grandmother's shawl. It means circle unbroken. You whisper the phrase in your first language, and the fire leans in like it's listening. Jonas doesn't speak again for 3 days, but he leaves things. A length of sinew for sewing, a bundle of dried berries, a carved spoon, each offering laid gently on the table without a word. You start leaving your own, half a loaf of bread, a stitched scrap. One of Grace's first smiles held long and bright across the room. You don't ask for anything in return. You don't have to. The valley watches this quiet giving and lets it continue. Then, one morning, voices, far off, men's voices, sharp, clipped, not calling, searching. You press Grace close. Jonas hears them too. He enters with a rifle slung low, not aimed, but not hidden. He says, We don't answer. You nod. He boards the cabin from inside. No panic, just practice, like he's done this before. You hold Grace tighter. Her breath quickens. You hum again. The same song, the same rhythm. But this time, you change the final note. Something in you says it's time. The men pass by, never stop, never knock, but leave something behind. The echo of being found, then forgotten again. That night Jonas leaves his boots by the door, the first time. Before he always kept them on, always ready to run, but now he stays, you both do. Not because the danger is gone, but because running never kept you safe, only known. And now you are. Winter softens, not fast, but enough. The wind loses its edge, the snow retreats to the shadows. Birdsong returns, quiet, cautious, but real. You feel your breath differently now, less like survival, more like presence. Grace is stronger. She sits up on her own, laughs louder, follows Jonas with her eyes like she's reading a book only she can understand. You ask her, "Do you remember the fire?" She babbles something and pats your face. You take it as a no, then a yes, then a blessing. You start building things, a shelf, a bench, a line of stones to mark a path from the spring to the door. Jonas helps, not with words, with hands. He measures with rope, shows you how to shave the joints clean. You find rhythm in it, the way you once found it in breath during labor. Pain, pause, release. Now, strike, measure, lift. It makes sense. All of it, even the silence. Then, one afternoon, a girl arrives, maybe 7, maybe 9. She doesn't knock, just walks out of the trees, eyes wide, holding a feather in one hand. You meet her on the porch. She says one word, hungry. You feed her, wrap her in a spare blanket. She sits on the floor beside Grace and doesn't speak again that day. At sunset, she points to the west and says, "They'll come tomorrow." You ask, "Who?" She says, "Others." You look at Jonas. He only nods, like this was always part of it. That night, you write your name on a scrap of paper, pin it to the door. Not for the girl, not for Grace, for whoever's next. For whoever needs to know someone stayed long enough to be found. You don't sign it mother or wife or widow. You just write, Mara, this place is safe. And for the first time, you believe it. They arrive at dawn, 3 of them. 2 women, 1 boy, no horses, no wagon, just feet. Frostbitten, blistered, determined. You step outside with Grace on your hip. They pause at the tree line. Then the taller woman sees the girl from yesterday, curled up by the hearth. She rushes forward, falls to her knees, holds her like she thought she never would again. No words, just weeping. You lead the others in. No one questions, no one explains. Jonas adds wood to the fire. You set water to boil. The boy eats with both hands like he's forgotten. There's enough. Grace watches them with wide eyes. You whisper to her, "They're like us." She blinks. You think she understands. The cabin is too small now, but somehow it fits. You lay out extra blankets, clear space on the shelves, hang damp socks from every hook. The girl shares the cradle board with Grace. Neither seems to mind. At night, when it's quiet, you hear them breathing in sync, like one child in 2 bodies, like something sacred is being rebuilt. On the 3rd day, the boy points to the corner, says, "That's where the school goes." You laugh, then realize he isn't joking. He draws it in the dust. A square, 3 circles, a sun. You kneel beside him, ask, "Who taught you that?" He shrugs, then says, "Mama said schools come from women who don't wait." You look at the others, at the space, at the future trying to become real, and you say, "Then we'll start with stories." You begin that evening. One by one you all speak, not loudly, not fully, but enough. Names, places, losses, no one interrupts. Grace falls asleep in your lap. You keep talking, because the silence that once protected you is now a gift to be unwrapped slowly, together. Spring comes without ceremony. The snow doesn't vanish. It just recedes like it's stepping back to watch what grows. You plant potatoes beside the cabin. The boy marks a line in the dirt and calls it the schoolyard. Jonas builds a bench from 2 fallen pines. The women mend what you couldn't. Every day now, someone reads aloud, not from a Bible, from memory, old songs, ancestral lessons, a recipe for ink. A fable about a bear who knew too much silence. The children listen. Sometimes they draw, Sometimes they sleep. You let both happen, because listening is its own kind of education. You carve the first letters into the cabin wall, just 3. You don't tell anyone what they mean, but Jonas nods when he sees them. He understands. You whisper it that night. Sanctuary schoolhouse, found. You don't know if it'll last, but what has? That isn't the point anymore. The point is, Grace walks now and laughs at birds and hands you rocks like they're currency, and you find yourself laughing too, more often, longer. You wake with less ache in your chest, less panic behind your ribs. You dream of nothing, and it feels like a miracle. Then one morning you receive a letter, folded in half, tucked under the door. No one saw who left it. Inside, a single line. We heard what you're building. We're coming. That's it. No name, no signature, no demand. Just presence. You set it on the mantel. Let the others read it if they wish, and begin clearing another patch of ground, this time for a table. A long one with room for strangers you'll come to love, and names you haven't heard yet. You build the table by hand, no sawmill, no blueprint, just wood you carried, hands that have stopped trembling, and time, soft, steady, endless. Jonas helps. He doesn't speak while he works, but every stroke of the plane says something. The other women join, sanding edges smooth. The children chase chickens across the half-cleared yard, laughter trailing behind them like ribbons. And you feel something in your back stretch open, like a thread being pulled from a place you didn't know was knotted. You exhale, let it go. That evening you eat at the new table. 9 of you, no ceremony, just bowls passed by hand, bread torn, laughter small but honest. Grace claps, you smile. She drops a spoon. The boy picks it up without teasing. You watch him. He's grown. You've all grown. And the cabin hasn't shrunk. It's become a heart with more chambers. Later, while the children sleep, one of the women asks you a question. What happens if they come back? You know who she means. Not the strangers, not the ones walking to you with hope. The others. The ones who think this land, these children, this silence, need permission. You say, we teach them too. She nods, then adds, but we keep the knives sharp. Jonas raises his cup at that. And for the first time since he saved you, he smiles without flinching. That night you write your first letter. You sign it with your full name. You send it down the mountain with a trader you trust. The letter reads, there is a place. We teach without shame. We eat without fear. And we are ready to be found, on our terms. You seal it, not with wax, with a pressed flower from Grace's hand. Let them see what survived the fire. The first officials arrive in late summer. 3 men on horseback, clean boots, clean hands. Too many questions. You meet them at the edge of the trees, not to block them, to greet them. Grace is strapped to your back, sleeping. One of the men clears his throat. We've heard you're running something unofficial. You say nothing at first. Let the quiet fill the space where his certainty tries to grow. Then you nod. Say, yes, we're teaching children to stay alive, and then stay kind. He shifts in his saddle. What curriculum? You tilt your head. Fire, winter, grief, trust. Another man chuckles, but not cruelly, just surprised. The third, the quietest, asks, can we see it? You nod. Lead them back. They walk the perimeter, children drawing, singing, sorting stones by texture and weight. Jonas is chopping wood. He doesn't look up. The boy, older now, explains what they're building. He calls it a circle room, where people can sit and listen without deciding who's at the front. One of the officials writes that down. Another frowns. It's not structured. You smile. It wasn't meant to be. You pause, then say, but it's working. That evening, the 3 men sit at your table, eat your stew, break your bread, and when the fire burns low, one of them says, we can't stop you. You nod. We know. He hesitates, then adds, but we won't help either. Not yet. You raise your cup to not being stopped. He raises his. To being worth helping soon. You all drink, and the wind outside softens. That night you write another letter, not to send, just to keep. When they came, we didn't ask permission. We offered presents. They saw. They left. We remained. You tuck it under Grace's blanket, because one day she'll need to know. You didn't build this for permission. You built it because no one else did. Autumn arrives like a soft hush. The leaves don't fall all at once. They let go gently, like they trust the earth to remember them. You walk the ridge with Grace in one hand. She asks questions now, about birds, about rivers, about what happens when the fire doesn't take everything. You answer slow. Let her lead the silence between thoughts. That's part of it, too. Teaching her how to listen when answers don't come easy. The school grows, not bigger, deeper. A circle bench, a second shelter. A line of stones shaped like the valley's old symbols. Children come in pairs now, sometimes alone. Always tired. Always watching. But they stay. Because you do. Because Jonas does. Because the others do. And because the fire in the hearth never asks what you've lost. Only what you're willing to build next. One night, Grace places a leaf on your lap, says, "This one's mine." You ask what she means. She points to the wall, where leaves have been pressed between planks, names beneath them. She says, "The leaf means I want to stay forever." You say you already do. But she shakes her head. "I want to write it down." So you help her spell her name, together, letter by letter. The last letter she draws backwards. You leave it that way, because no name starts perfect. It grows into itself. Later, by firelight, Jonas gives you something. A journal, blank, bound in hide. You open to the first page. He's written one sentence. Your turn. You hold the pen, not like a weapon, like a key. You don't write your name, not yet. You write Grace's, because she was the one who arrived first, and she's the one who will carry it forward. You begin the journal the next morning, with Grace still asleep, the valley quiet, and your breath warm in the doorway. You write what no one asked you to, not a ledger, not a lesson, a living memory. You begin with the fire, not the one that took your cabin, the one that stayed with you after, the one that flickered in your ribs when everyone else said, "Be still." You write about how survival wasn't the end, only the beginning. By noon, a rider arrives, alone. A woman with gray streaks in her braid and sharp eyes that don't flinch. She wears no badge, but carries presents like armor. You offer her water. She accepts. You ask, "You from the town?" She nods, then points to the circle bench. "I've heard about this." You nod back, invite her to sit. She does. Then pulls out a notebook. Blank. She says, "They told me what you're doing here. I want to learn it right." You pause, then hand her the second bench. She listens as the children recite the story of the wolf and the pine. She watches as one child signs what he can't yet speak. She cries once, just a little. Later, she asks if she can stay the night. You say yes before she finishes the question. At dusk, she asks, "What do you call this?" You think for a long time, then say, "We never named it." She nods, then offers her own. "What if it's just called Still Here?" You laugh. So does Jonas. Grace repeats it like a game. Still here. Still here. The name takes root. No carving needed. Just breath. Just echo. Just truth. Winter returns the way some people do. Quiet at first. Then, all at once, snow folds itself over the school's roof. Smoke coils from both chimneys now, one for the living space, one for the classroom. The word has spread, not loudly, just enough. Three more families arrive by sled. They don't knock. Just step into the clearing like they've always belonged. One woman kneels in the snow, touches the stones in the path, and weeps without hiding it. You greet them with warm bread. Grace offers them her bench. Jonas clears space by the stove. There's no room left, but somehow there's always enough. That night the woman from the town returns, not alone. This time she brings a satchel full of books. She lays them out on the floor, botany, letters, histories of land that never mentioned people like you. She says, "We can start adding to this now." You nod, say, "But we'll write our own pages too." She grins. "You already have." You begin organizing lessons, not in order, in rhythm. Stories in the morning, meals together, letters traced by lantern light, silence whenever needed. Some of the children don't speak, some won't stop speaking. You let both be, because both are surviving in their own way. One night Grace asks you, "Was I born in this cabin?" You pause, then shake your head. "No, love, but you were saved here." She nods slowly, then whispers, "I think this place remembers that." You smile, because she's right. You feel it in the wood. The beams don't creak the same anymore. The wind doesn't push as hard. Even the fire hums instead of growls. Like the whole place is finally exhaling, together. The snow deepens one last time. You wake to a white so bright it hums. The children sleep in bundles, books tucked beneath arms. Boots lined like offerings by the door. Jonah stirs the fire. You brew tea. No one speaks, because peace doesn't always come with noise. Sometimes it comes as breath. You take out the journal, the one you started when Grace first smiled in her sleep. There are only 2 pages left. You sit by the window, watch the trees move, then write, "We thought survival was the end of the story. But survival was just the key. The story was what we built when we stopped running." You close the journal, but not the story. Never that. Later, Grace brings you a letter, folded, neat, no seal. Just handwriting, you know, Jonas's. You unfold it slowly. It reads, "Thank you for staying. Thank you for letting me stay, too. This is the only home I ever built with both hands free." Your eyes blur. You fold the letter again. Place it inside the journal, not at the end. In the middle, because that's where his part lives, where it began, where it keeps returning. That evening, you gather the children. You speak softly. Tell them this place was born in fire, but not defined by it. That it grew from silence, warmed by hands who knew what not to say. You tell them it's theirs now. That one day, they'll build more rooms, more benches, more names on leaves. And when they do, they should write it all down. For the next child who arrives with nothing but breath. You fall asleep with Grace beside you, her hand on your heart. The last page of the journal still blank, but not empty, waiting.